You think mosasaurs are terrifying? Wrong. Mosasaurs were just lucky not to live in the same ocean as it. Otherwise, a mosasaur wouldn't even count as food. It would only be an appetizer. Even megalodons, upon seeing it, would go out of their way to avoid it. It comes from 12 million years ago. With 36-centimeter fangs, it specialized in hunting its own kind, tearing its relatives apart for a main course. After scientists reconstructed its bite force, the entire room went silent for 3 full minutes. Because that number ranks first in the history of life on Earth. It exceeds all dinosaurs. It exceeds all known mammals. No tetrapod can rank ahead of it. It is called Livyatan. But the most ridiculous thing isn't its mouth of teeth. It's the thing hidden inside its head. Scientists have studied it for decades. And even today, they dare not give a definitive answer. 2008, Cerro Colorado in southern Peru. Paleontologist Klaus Post accidentally stepped on an exposed fossil. Eventually, they excavated a skull nearly 3 meters long. No one on site cheered. There was only silence. Because they realized this thing shouldn't exist. It's a whale, but its mouth is full of fangs. Each tooth is up to 36 centimeters long, with a diameter of 12 centimeters. Now look down at your arm, from your elbow to your wrist. That's roughly the length. Is this thing a whale? Yes, but it doesn't eat krill, and it doesn't eat small fish. It specifically hunts other whales. Not just occasionally. It eats them as its main course. Paleontologists calculate its bite force. Its bite force can easily crush a T-Rex. Its bite force reached a staggering 15 tons, while a T-Rex was only 3.6 tons. In the oceans 12 million years ago, even megalodons had to steer clear of it. So, what should this monster be called? The team opened the Bible and chose the ultimate world-destroying sea monster, Livyatan. The Livyatan whale could reach a maximum length of 17 meters and weigh over 50 tons. You might think, what's the big deal? Isn't a blue whale 30 meters long? But a blue whale eats tiny shrimp with its mouth open. Livyatan was an active predator that chased down its prey and then tore them apart alive. This is equivalent to taking an orca, tripling its size, and tripling its temper. Even more ridiculous is its mouth, 1.8 meters long and 1.2 meters wide. A full-grown adult could fit entirely inside. Both jaws were filled with teeth. When biting, the teeth would interlock and shear. Every bite was like sharpening its own blades. A T-Rex's teeth were about 15 centimeters. Livyatan's teeth were more than twice that size. The paleontology community gave it a rating, the strongest bite force of any tetrapod in history. Tetrapods include all mammals that have ever appeared on Earth, dinosaurs, reptiles, and birds. It is the undisputed number 1. But the teeth aren't its most terrifying feature. Hidden inside its head is a secret weapon. On the top of the Livyatan skull, there is a massive concave structure called the supracranial basin, which holds the spermaceti organ. Modern sperm whales have one too, but Livyatan's was much larger than that of modern whales. What was this thing used for? The scientific community is still debating, but every theory is spine-chilling. The first is a sonar system to precisely lock on the prey with sound waves. There was nowhere to hide in the dark ocean. The second is sonic attacks. By using ultra-high-intensity sound waves, it could cause a prey's internal organs to vibrate and fail. Killing with sound. This isn't a sci-fi movie. Modern sperm whale sound waves can already make divers vomit. The third, and most brutal, is using it as a battering ram. In the 19th century, 2 whaling ships were sunk by a single headbutt from a sperm whale. And Livyatan's head was even larger than that. If it charged at full speed and ran the megalodon, that wouldn't just be hunting. It would be total devastation. Livyatan and Megalodon lived in the same ocean during the same period. Speaking of which, there is an unavoidable question. Who was stronger, Livyatan or Megalodon? These two were apex predators of the same era, the same region, and shared the same diet. Livyatan fossils were excavated in Peru, and the same geological layer contained massive amounts of Megalodon teeth. Both preyed on baleen whales. Both were the absolute ceilings of their respective domains. This scenario is like putting a lion and a tiger in the same cage and throwing in a piece of meat. As for who is truly stronger between a lion and a tiger, there is still no definitive conclusion today. The Megalodon might have been larger in size, with a maximum estimated length of 24 meters, and its bite force was also terrifyingly powerful. But Livyatan had several advantages that the Megalodon naturally lacked. It was a mammal. Being warm-blooded, its stamina far exceeded that of a cold-blooded shark. It had a large brain and intelligence, and might have used sound waves for detection and attack. Its tooth roots were extremely deep. Its impact resistance was much stronger than shark teeth. Furthermore, they hunted in groups. The mainstream view in the scientific community is that adults likely respected and feared each other. Neither would actively provoke the other. But the other's offspring? Those were definitely on the menu. But did you know? Livyatan actually entered the ocean from the land. 50 million years ago, its ancestor was a four-legged land mammal, somewhat like a modern hippo, living by the river and fishing for survival. It was just such a small creature waiting by the shore. One day, it decided to go into the water and never came back up. Its hind legs gradually atrophied. Its forelimbs turned into fins. Its spine began to move up and down like a fish, and its nostrils moved from its face to the top of its head. The entire evolutionary process took about 20 million years. In 20 million years, a land animal was transformed into an ocean killer. But here is the key to the story. Whales that also descended from land to sea later split into two factions during evolution. One faction chose to give up their teeth, using baleen instead to filter seawater, specifically eating krill and small fish, opting for the large quantity, full stomach route. These are today's blue whales and humpback whales. The other faction chose to sharpen their teeth further, growing them larger and specifically hunting large prey, taking the route of precision killing. Livyatan was the result of taking that path to the extreme. It is a close relative of the modern sperm whale, both belonging to the sperm whale family. However, the modern sperm whale chose to eat small creatures like squid, so the teeth in its mouth became smaller and smaller, until the teeth in the upper jaw almost completely atrophied and disappeared. But Livyatan did the opposite. It grew its teeth larger and larger, longer and deeper, with both upper and lower jaws fully armed. Ultimately, it built itself into a war machine born specifically to tear through whales. Same ancestor, two paths, two destinies. One survived to this day, the other vanished into history. What killed Livyatan was not a stronger predator, nor a natural disaster. It was the late Miocene climate change. Global temperatures began to drop, the seas turned cold, and the number of baleen whales and large marine animals began to dwindle. And these were the primary food sources for Livyatan. It had crafted itself into the world's most perfect marine killer, never imagining that one day its food would become scarce. It had no backup plan, no plan B. Its body was too specialized, so specialized that there was no room for adaptation. And then it was gone. Do you know what the irony is? After Livyatan went extinct, it wasn't a stronger species that took over the ocean, nor was it one with larger teeth. It was the orca, a common creature only 1/3 its size. The orca doesn't have Livyatan's specialization, but it eats everything. It can go anywhere. If something doesn't work today, it finds another way. Tomorrow it goes to another place. It never turned itself into an irreplaceable existence, which is why it can never be replaced. Livyatan spent 12 million years. It built itself into the world's most perfect weapon, but forgot one thing. Weapons serve their environment. When the environment changes, even the most perfect weapon only has exhibition value. Extreme specialization is a double-edged sword. It takes you to the top, but it also leaves you with no way back. 5 million years ago, it disappeared, but it used its own bones to bury this sentence in the Peruvian desert. It is never the strongest that survives, but the one best at adapting to change. This message is for you and for me. You think the strongest creature of the Cretaceous was the T-Rex. You're wrong. Dead wrong. Completely incorrect. Fundamentally wrong. If we condense the 79 million years of the Cretaceous into a single day, the T-Rex didn't even appear until the last 36 minutes. It only ruled for those final 36 minutes. So, during the 23 hours and 24 minutes before its arrival, what was the Cretaceous actually experiencing? The true ruler of this continent wasn't a giant insect or sharp claws. It was a flower. This very thing you see everywhere, something so utterly ordinary. Almost no one has ever considered that it is actually the most terrifying game changer in Earth's history. Before the Cretaceous, there were essentially no flowers on Earth, only pines, conifers, and ferns low in energy and hard to digest. Until the mid-Cretaceous, when flowers appeared, food appeared, and sugar appeared. Earth's food chain was completely rewritten. Plants became more fragrant, sweeter, and more nutritious. Insects flourished, and biodiversity exploded. The land ecosystem entered an unprecedented golden age. Generations of apex predators took their turns on the stage. Carcharodontosaurs and the ancestors of Euking each one more ferocious than the last. Without this flower, there would be no golden age of the Cretaceous. Without it, there would be no mammalian ancestors surviving on fruit, and certainly none of our modern grains, fruits, or vast fields of flowers. The T-Rex was merely the final overlord of the Cretaceous, but the flower was the true creator that defined the entire era. Today, in our 12th episode of Earth General Knowledge, I will lead you to truly understand the Cretaceous. That was the Earth from 145 million to 66 million years ago. A full 79 million years. 500 times longer than humans have existed on Earth. Scientists gave it a beautiful name, the final golden age of the Mesozoic. But I prefer to call it by another name, the most brutal, crazy, and suffocating survival arena in Earth's history. First, let's talk about the atmosphere. Carbon dioxide levels in the Cretaceous were more than 4 times higher than today. Every breath you took would feel like having a wet towel pressed against your face while gasping for air in a sauna. Suffocating, sweltering, and toxic. Sea levels back then were 170 meters higher than today. More than half of North America was underwater. Surface temperatures could soar up to 45 degrees Celsius. Just as you stepped out of the sunlight, before you could even find shade, a volcano would start erupting. Volcanic ash would blot out the sun. Temperatures would plummet, and you'd face scorching heat and extreme temperature drops in the same day. And yet, under these extreme conditions, life erupted into an unprecedented diversity. This is the most fascinating part of nature. The more desperate the situation, the more extraordinary the flowers that bloom. First, look at the sky. The Cretaceous skies did not belong to birds. They belonged to pterosaurs. The most pinnacle species was Quetzalcoatlus, with a wingspan of 11 meters. It was the size of a fighter jet. When it stood on the ground, its head was nearly 6 meters high, taller than a giraffe. What did it feel like when it took flight? Imagine you are walking in the wild with no cover, and suddenly a shadow appears in the sky, longer than a public bus, gliding silently over your head. The prey of Quetzalcoatlus were medium-sized animals and small dinosaurs larger than a human. When it dived down, it wasn't just hunting. It was a harvest. Next, look at the land. Many think the peak of the dinosaurs was the Tyrannosaurus, but Cretaceous South America hid an existence that made the T-Rex look petite. Argentinosaurus, 35 meters long, 80 tons in weight, equivalent to about a dozen African elephants. It was one of the largest land animals to ever inhabit the earth. The vibrations from a single step it took could be felt several kilometers away. Just one of its thigh bones was taller than a grown man. But don't think being massive meant safety. Specifically evolved to deal with it was Giganotosaurus, 13 meters long, 6 tons in weight with serrated teeth that were replaced throughout its life. They likely moved in groups and might have even hunted Argentinosaurus. If a pack of Giganotosaurus besieged an Argentinosaurus, that wasn't a hunt. It was a literal war. Having finished with South America, let's return to North America to speak of a name that resonates across the globe. Tyrannosaurus rex, 13 meters in length, with a bite force of approximately 57,000 newtons. What does this number actually mean? With a single bite, it could bite straight through bone, shattering skeletons and piercing the roof of an off-road vehicle. But what's even more terrifying than its mouth is its sense of smell. The T-Rex's sense of smell was so advanced it could lock onto a scent from over a kilometer away, making it sharper than a bloodhound's. You might think that by hiding in the bush, it can't see you, but it has already smelled you. If the T-Rex was a catastrophe on land, the water was a literal hell. During the Cretaceous period, a shallow sea called the Western Interior Seaway bisected the entire North American continent. Paleontologists gave this sea a nickname, Hell's Aquarium. The fiercest creature in this sea was the mosasaur. The largest reliable specimens reached about 15 meters in length and weighed over 10 tons. Its bite force was incredibly powerful, far exceeding that of a modern saltwater crocodile. It possessed binocular vision, allowing it to accurately track prey in murky waters. A great white shark would be nothing more than a snack to it. Yet, in the sea, even mosasaurs could be eaten by larger members of their own kind. Then there was the plesiosaur. Long necks, small heads, and flattened bodies. They used 4 massive flippers to fly through the water. One species, called Elasmosaurus, had an extremely long neck that accounted for over half its body length. With a massive number of cervical vertebrae, they weren't reckless pursuers. They used those eerie long necks to mimic seaweed, quietly and slowly approaching schools of fish before striking like lightning. Interestingly, many paleontology enthusiasts believe that the legend of the Loch Ness Monster in Scotland was actually inspired by plesiosaur fossils. They have been extinct for over 60 million years, yet they live on forever in human mythology. Now that we've discussed the things you'd fear at first sight, let's talk about one you definitely wouldn't expect. There was a herbivorous dinosaur in the Cretaceous called Parasaurolophus, which had a curved bony crest on its head. From a distance, it looked like a banana stuck on its forehead. It looked strange, but scientists have discovered that the crest was hollow, containing an extremely complex internal airway structure. It could produce low-frequency resonant sounds. Listen to this sound. Doesn't it sound like a natural horn? A herd of Parasaurolophus calling out together in the twilight forest. That deep, long resonance echoing through the trees and vibrating the ground. The world of the Cretaceous was not silent. It had sound, it had language, and perhaps even music. 66 million years ago, an asteroid about 10 kilometers in diameter, traveling at about 20 kilometers per second, struck what is now the Yucatan Peninsula in Mexico. The energy released at the moment of impact was equivalent to billions of atomic bombs. Shock waves, ultra-high temperature flames, and giant tsunamis swept across the globe in succession. What followed was a long impact winter. Dust choked the sky and blocked the sun, plunging the Earth's surface into years of darkness and freezing cold. Plants died on a massive scale. Herbivores ran out of food, and the carnivores followed them into collapse. About 75% of the species on Earth vanished forever in this extinction. And just like that, the 79 million year Cretaceous period came to an end. The Cretaceous, through its 79 million years, taught us the most powerful lesson of all. Those giants that once ruled the Earth ultimately could not withstand a meteorite falling from the sky. No matter how tough the body, no matter how sharp the claws, they were all vulnerable in the face of a changing era. What truly rewrites history has never been violence or dominance, but silent forces capable of reshaping the entire world. It is the ecological revolution brought by a single flower, the persistence of tiny lives through the darkness, and the resilience of life to constantly restart amidst destruction. The dinosaurs are gone, but their bloodline transformed into birds, still soaring in the sky. Extinction is never the end, but rather life moving forward in a different way. When we look up at the stars today and look back at antiquity, it's not just to marvel at the ancient beasts, but to understand that true strength is not momentary conquest, but holding on to hope throughout endless time. Life's greatest power is continued growth. It has never been about never falling, but about the ability to fly again after the fall. In the next episode, I will take you to the Paleogene, a strange new world of giants where birds are taller than humans, and snakes can swallow cattle. This is the Creator of Science, and I look forward to seeing you then.